Steven, do you want to introduce the podcast this time?
I don't know why it's funny to me.
It is.
I don't know why. No, not really.
Oh man.
Third wheel over here.
All right.
You know what? The next time I'll have something.
Okay.
You just have to say this is the Awkward SideHug podcast, and then you don't even have to introduce us. We'll figure that. We'll just jump in.
Ándale, carnal. I almost told you not to touch my bike.
Welcome to the Awkward SideHug podcast. My name's Brian. Steven and Lex are here with me. We sound a little tired. Me and Lex did not get a lot of sleep. Steven apparently got plenty of sleep. But, so Lex had to work an overnight shift. Someone didn't show up on time, so Lex didn't get to leave right away. So I'm pretty sure he only got about 4 to 5 hours of sleep at the most.
Damn, we just straight up snitching on him right now.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I watched The Joker last night. Came home, played some Fortnite.
6 times.
And then
He's like, I watched The Joker last night. Came home, put some clown paint on my face. He started walking outside. He's like,
and I decided to not risk getting SmackDown more spoiled for me, so I decided to watch SmackDown. And then I felt like I had to watch podcasts on SmackDown and The Joker before I went to sleep. So I'm rocking about 4 hours of sleep right now. And it was weird because we all, like, Lex texted us in the morning, and then we all responded. And
like right away.
Why were you up
Steven.
why were you up so early, Steven?
So I had work, so I got up at 6.
Oh.
So
responsible.
On a Saturday.
I went to sleep by 12 last night, and I woke up around like 6. So I feel pretty refreshed. 6 hours of sleep.
No, that's great, man.
So,
That's like more than enough sleep for a dad.
Must be nice. Yeah. You know, it was like mine. I had a choice.
Yours was the only one that you had a choice yet.
All right. So, by the way, Joker is actually really good, and the Rotten Tomatoes rating on it is not as good.
It's lower.
This is the first time in a while that I'll say Rotten Tomatoes got it wrong.
That's what I'm gonna say. Because like the one thing about Brian is something that me and Steven learned rather quickly is we'll be talking about movies, movie reviews, shows, all that good stuff, and no matter what, Brian will never take our word for it. The first thing he does is like, "Oh, Rotten Tomatoes says," and I'm like, oh. So Brian trusts Rotten Tomatoes more than he trusts his family, probably. But
yeah, there's a good track record of that.
It goes one person, then Rotten Tomatoes, and everyone's kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like for example, like my favorite movie of all time doesn't have like a 99 or anything like that, you know. So it's not like my rating scale is entirely based on Rotten. My Rotten Tomatoes scale is based on if I feel like I should watch something or should not, and if it's
makes sense.
If it's in the 90s, then I'm like, it's probably good. If it's something that's got 30%, then I'm not gonna waste my time. So
this podcast has like a 17% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's and oh, okay, go for it.
Well, I was just looking at the Rotten Tomato score for Joker, and it's at a 70 right now.
Ooh.
So I think it's a little higher than it was yesterday.
Yeah, it was at like a 68 yesterday.
Yeah. I think after the weekend, it'll be at like a higher 70.
Did you guys see the Dave Chappelle score? It had like a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes because they only let like 17 people at Rotten Tomatoes grade it.
Oh, I haven't.
And it was all like extreme left people, I think.
I haven't watched it yet. Oh,
it was literally like a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes, and then audience score was like 99.
Yeah, and the audience score for Joker is 92.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually try to gauge both a little bit, like if there's a good middle ground.
Which one was the Dave Chappelle? I'm sorry, I'm looking at Dave Chappelle.
Oh, Sticks and Stones? Is that what the last special is called?
Yeah, 35% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Hey, what was the audience score on that?
99.
Dude, that's wild. Yeah, that's wild.
Right.
Dang, we're taking your man's job right now. Cool.
What were you
And
saying? Bro?
SmackDown was pretty good. The one thing that spoiler alert if people haven't watched it yet, and even though it's gonna be posted like several
On
days after the
Sunday,
fact,
Monday, yeah.
Cain Velasquez and Brock Lesnar don't need the belt for them to have a good feud. So Kofi didn't have to drop the belt, and even if he is going to drop the belt, he didn't have to drop it in 9 seconds.
Man, I didn't even see SmackDown. You just spoiled it for me.
No, nope.
Yeah.
It's okay for nobody to spoil it for you, but for me, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
My bad. I didn't know you were going to watch it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
I
Steve.
think
I'm a little tired.
I'm super pumped for Cain Velasquez. We have to like clarify it since it's WWE now. But
Hey, can I throw this out there? I know I shouldn't say this because I don't have the best physique, and I'm not wearing shorts again. By the way,
To be honest, I don't
please
think any
don't.
of us
Please.
are wearing shorts.
Yeah, I'm finally wearing shorts on this.
But my man Kane should have just left the shirt on because he looked a little doughy out there.
Yeah. For being a former, for being like regarded as like arguably the greatest UFC heavyweight of all time, he looked like that. That was years ago, which it was.
It's just fine. I'm pretty pumped that they'll have a match. I think it's interesting. I think SmackDown going to a more sports-oriented thing is actually not a bad idea because there's still a lot of good wrestling involved. But we'll see. I don't know.
True.
That's my thoughts on the show.
Also, Tyson Fury, adding that sports element to it, jumping the barricade and like.
Right. And see, the funny thing is, like, these are cool moments, but the way they set a lot of these things up is a little off. Like, they didn't have to bury 7 other wrestlers to have the Tyson Fury moment. Braun Strowman could have gone out there and just wrestled whoever.
Exactly.
And then thrown that person into Tyson Fury. Like, it couldn't have just been a squash match and then set that up instead of, like, burying, like, the United States champion and stuff like that. So, that's another. But I'll tell you that the set looks dope. I saw the Rock. It was really good. Those are my Rotten Tomato score for SmackDown was around 84.
84. Wild.
I'm gonna have to hit up my man Cole for the for the SmackDown review.
Yeah, for sure.
So, technically, we don't have fourth mic questions, but we're technically still on a fourth mic question.
Yeah, so this is the origin episode because we realized we literally like on so it ended like that for a reason, episode 4, because we realized I'm going to tell you the PC reason, not the real reason. We realized that we barely got mine and Steven's meet story, Steven and Brian's, and then Brian's and mine. And we were just about to get into like the first story, and we realized that this could be its own episode. So, shouts out to that.
So, I don't know if Steven's ready.
The punch.
Okay, so sorry.
Friend A and friend B.
You're good.
There's stuff happening on the other side over here. I hope it's not picking up on the mic.
It's fine.
It's a little rude.
As long as they don't name drop, cuss, or say the word sponsor.
Hey, they're like, "Oh, you mean Jerry?"
Yeah.
Talk about like the punch.
So who's your sponsors? All right. So this is the first.
You want to get into the first ad before we start, or?
Yeah, why not? You start because I'm not ready. You do the other one.
Okay. So the other one. All right. Sorry, Basics. Apparently, you guys are the other ad. I'm just kidding. Vital Pomona. We believe everyone has a gift. Some just need help finding it. You can find Vital Pomona at www.vitalpomona.com. They're located at 266 West 2nd Street, Pomona, California. The big opening day, the ribbon cutting, it's going down October 12th, 5 p.m. on 2nd Saturday Art Walk. And yeah, I'm sure you'll see Brian and I there frequently. They're going to have like a bunch of stuff. They have this like Bulbasaur plant, by the way. Okay, so they have this Bulbasaur planter, right? Planter, where it holds like a plant on the back. So like the plants that grow, it's like the Bulbasaur is like leaves, I guess. And it looks so dope. And I'm going to buy one. So
what color?
Vital Pomona. The blue one, because it's closest to the actual color of Bulbasaur. But
the glow in the dark one would be pretty close too, right?
oh, one of them's glow in the dark. I
I believe
have a tough
so.
decision to make now.
What's the other color? Is it red or something?
It was blue. It was like a super lighter shade of blue, and then a green one, almost like a light green one.
Oh, okay, then
Yeah.
maybe I'm not super sure about glow in the dark, but I'm pretty sure it's a glow in the dark one.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So
they're selling to one audience right there, or
yeah. I just really like niched
Are you
Vital
trying
Pomona.
to sell a planner to a 10-year-old or?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, they also have these like forever roses, which is like this metal rose, and oh, I guess I could get one now. Oh yeah, cool. So I'll probably buy one of those pretty soon too. But yeah, Vital Pomona at Vital Pomona on IG.
I don't want to ask why you want a metal rose.
I give it to Brian.
Oh my
But yeah, yeah, sorry.
All right, so
We've
the
established a lot of rules, by the way, in the back end of this show. So
yeah.
um,
So
a lot
if
of
you
times-
notice that if it gets a little bit more choppy, we're working on doing things, I guess, better and being more careful with how we say things. Because just throw it out there, this is not going to be the brand split. If people know what the brand split was, we just went off.
That's hilarious.
And we would say, hey, check that, mark the end, and we would leave it up to the producer. And sometimes the producer never edited it,
Yeah.
and things were just left in.
Those are fun times. Shouts out to the brand split. Shouts out Yumpaka, Adrian on the knobs, Andy and Val, and Brian and I. That was the whole squad. And
Right.
good days.
So I'll be honest, we already told this story on the last episode, but we took it out. So,
Dude, we're the worst liars ever, dude. Like, we
Yeah.
could never lie.
So the punch heard around our high school.
so we're redoing the story.
Between
Yes.
friend A and friend B. So friend A was a Brian affiliate, and friend B was a Steven affiliate. And then, oh yeah, I'll let you guys.
You're making it seem like Brian and I weren't affiliated. Like,
No,
that's the thing.
We haven't been friends since Magnolia. This is in high
that's
school,
true, that's
so
true. Well, no, I wouldn't say Magnolia. Technically, it was ninth grade.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you're right. We were still technically friends. We never stopped being friends.
Yeah.
And didn't we still like coach a little bit during this weird transition period where we?
Which was weird because the only time we saw each other is when we coached.
Yeah.
And then there was that weird time where like Juan and I showed up at a party and you guys didn't have to be there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That was a wild party too.
Right? Like I don't know how Juan and I ended up at that party.
Right.
Yeah, we don't even know how we ended up there either, right?
Yeah, Brian and I were there, huh?
Yeah.
It's weird because like really the only person who regularly went to these parties was me. Because shouts out to my buddy Robert, and we said we wouldn't name drop on the pre-show, but no.
So far they're okay. They're safe.
These are okay. But yeah, shouts out, and he would invite me, our other buddy, Chris O at the time, and like he was only our buddy at the time. I'm just kidding, but yeah. So I had gotten to like at least 2 before that. They did it like once a week or something like that. Just like fun times and like get together, like party, and yeah. For some reason, I got Brian to go that time, and then that's the one time that Steven was also there with
and that's the time I debuted the whole hey, not in front of my friends thing.
Yeah,
nobody there was my friend outside of you guys.
Because Brian and Steven didn't really know anyone there, so except for like each other and me, and and even then, this was before Steven and I were close. And so I was the one who like literally knew like everyone at the party. Like every time I would say a joke, Brian would be like, hey, not in front of my friends, man. Oh, man.
All right, so the punch between
The punch.
I don't even know who friend A and friend B is anymore, but
Friend A is on Brian's side.
Yeah,
Friend B
in the blue corner.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on.
They're interchangeable.
All right.
Yeah.
So bigger friend A, was I'm trying to figure out how we're gonna tell the story now. Okay, so
well, no, that's a notable fact. He was much bigger than friend B. I almost said friend B's name.
So friend A asked friend B. This is the time when me, Lex, and friend A were discussing making music and trying to
Mhm.
get, and then so we were doing this like weird mixtape thing. We would rap on other beats. So I think we were trying to transition at this time into not rapping on artist beats. So friend A asked friend B, hey, since you are in that field, can you make me a CD with beats on it that are not uh, copywritten, or I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Original
Like
one.
original.
Yeah, they're trying. He wants original beats.
Mm-hmm.
He gives the CD to friend A. Friend A shows me it, and I say, "Hey, I've heard some of these on LimeWire before. These aren't original. Maybe they were, and they were just happen to be on LimeWire too. You know, sometimes they're like stock photos, stuff like that." So friend A confronts friend B, and I'll let you guys tell the story from this perspective now, because
Yeah.
friend B didn't felt like he had to stand his ground against friend A, and because
It
like I said,
escalated. I don't
there's
remember how it escalated. It
there's
just
this
escalated.
there's this huge like I said, like there's this weird like male stigma, I guess, when you're in high school, where you feel like you can't back down from certain things when you should. Like the responsible thing is sometimes not escalate the fight. But here, friend B felt like, hey, I need to stand my ground. So he's like, basically, I believe, tells friend A to get out of his face, something on those. And then friend A's like, hey, man. And friend A, the bigger one, was calm the entire time.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta stop you there, because there was some sort of escalation there. So they're both a little bit guilty of the escalation.
Right. I'll admit that.
But A did keep his cool,
Yeah.
and B was the one that, instead of just kind of backing up, kind of went more towards the instigating. And
Right. So I remember it because I believe, for whatever reason, these were both our good friends, but I don't think we were within like 2 feet of them to either stop the situation or hear the situation in its entirety. But we were far enough away or close enough away to know what's going on.
right.
And we just let it happen.
I think we were talking.
Yeah, probably.
We were talking while they were doing their thing, and
So I remember it that friend B touched friend A's chest, like either poked it or pushed it in something.
Yeah.
So friend A kind of pushed back and said, "Hey man, don't do that."
Mm-hmm.
And then friend B, this is where it gets into that male stigma that, all right, now you've already put yourself in a corner. How are you gonna get yourself out of this corner? By getting out of this corner, you get yourself punched in the face. So he pushed friend A back, and then friend B, he punched friend A, and then friend A at that point was like, and just socked him straight in the face.
It's
And
like
we
the
all,
SpongeBob meme. He's like, all right, I'm gonna punch him in the face.
yeah, we just watched. We could have done something, but we didn't.
Yeah.
And
could we have done something though, like given the situation and our personalities back then? I mean,
probably not. There was probably that little bit of like, older me would have been like, I don't want to see anybody get hurt. Younger me was probably like, you know what, if to do something, I'm gonna let
there you go. Instead of friend A, huh?
Instead of friend A.
Oh, my bad.
Oh man.
Beep.
All right. What is that? Where are we at? Do we have a timer?
So,
Mark that. You know what's funny? We were doing so perfect. It started sounding like a court hearing. Like our exhibit A and exhibit B.
Yeah.
And so I was like, dude, we're gonna get through this. And we're literally at the end of the story. It's like beep beep. At least we only have 2 beeps, so we're good.
Yeah. So what happens is friend A punches friend B in the face. He goes down like a ton of bricks.
Like spiral down.
And Steven tends to not remember this, but friend C comes over with a skateboard.
I don't remember this part.
and he pokes him with the skateboard twice. I remember this. Lex, I think he's choosing not to, or do you remember that?
No, here's the thing. To be honest, I had either just left that had to be the only reason because I think the bell just rang after the fight, so I was probably already gone.
Lex doesn't
And
have a good memory.
didn't see any of this, dude. I saw like kind of everyone there, and then I was like, okay, I was like, all right, I'm gonna head out. Like when violence was about to start. And dude, I didn't see any of it. I heard about it right away though.
And I was upset because
I heard it from friend C though. Well, what he did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing it, so
Yeah.
the story checks out.
Yeah.
So I did see friend C go to friend B, but I don't know what that was about.
Yeah.
So
So at this point,
like it's not like he was like stabbing him with the skateboard.
like a chair shot.
No, like he was carrying a skateboard like every cracker did at that school. and he.
It's funny because Fred C's like totally the opposite of.
And he just
he's not black either, but
just slightly like tapped him like kind of like one of those like sticks like seeing if he's like alive or not kind of thing.
Like you want to see a dead body?
Yeah, because friend B was like literally on the ground, just like.
And the funny thing is like security was nowhere.
Yeah, that's weird.
Because it took almost 2.5 to 3 hours after the fact. Because me and friend A were at football practice, and that's when he got taken away.
The one thing we don't know is how they knew it was friend A.
Oh, that's the mystery.
Right.
Because there wasn't security. Nobody ever approached. Friend B was on the floor when the bell rang. We all went to class. I'm assuming he was on the floor still, and somebody came to him, but we don't know how they found out.
You know what? Friend B, Tekashi 6ix9ine, fam.
So I mean, that's the
right.
That's wild mystery.
Or
that's the most logical.
That is most logical. Yeah. But even if you did see, like, I've worked in these settings too. Just because one person says one thing doesn't mean. Why are you laughing?
Dude, Steve is losing it.
Because I was just thinking of 3 years.
Oh man!
I haven't done my taxes in 3 years.
Taxes in 3.
So, just because one person says another thing doesn't mean that's actually true or not.
Mm-hmm. Right? They could just make it up.
Right.
Imagine it was friend A. It's like, yo, dog, I gotta tell the truth.
or the reason it took 3 hours is it went through like every single person in school.
or finally, friend A didn't want to do bear crawls that day.
So he called security himself.
Hey, dog, I did it. It's like, what?
So that's that story. And so me and Lex stayed friends since then until now. I know it's a little shaky. He yells at me sometimes. but
I've gone through a rough patch.
Steven and I like half-assedly kind of stayed friends by coaching basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll admit this because I've coached so far just 1 year of high school related basketball. And I'll admit though, like as fun as that was, those years of me and you coaching city basketball were special to me.
Oh, dude, hold on. Holy.
Look at right there.
Oh!
And
it's championship shirts.
Oh no, right there. I have the other one. It's all cricket.
What's going on there?
I'm not going.
Just like hitting his head against the wall.
They're very special.
So we've coached in another city for a while, and then it would be funny because Steven hit me up. He'd be like, "You want to coach?" I'd say yes. I go out there and coach, and then after coaching was done, we'd kind of go back to not hanging out or talking or whatever.
Like the first 2 seasons.
Except for those occasional, like random meetups, like at that party or just in general.
Yeah.
And then, like, I think it's a mixture of a lot of things because at the same, like, I'm going to kind of Quentin Tarantino this, but in the last few seasons of us coaching, we were doing the FIFA tournaments a lot. And then on top of it, we were doing fantasy football. So I think all those things together kind of bonded our friendship back.
That's a trigger word?
Yeah. So
trigger word.
our our first season was a special season in the City League because we won the championship and we beat the both teams in the playoffs that beat us by like 30 or more points. And this is what officially started the rivalry between us and this other coach. And kind of the other coach as well, but not so much. It was more of a respectful competitiveness, where the other one was there's genuine, like general like
Dislike.
dislike.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't admit it, but it was there too. He would single-handedly build his teams to beat our teams, and we would build our teams to beat his team because we felt like there was no other coaches in the league that were going to touch us otherwise. So
It's true.
second season was a disappointing season because one of our kids had to take the GRE. And
we had a draft bust that year.
The draft bust.
This kid looked really good in the combine, and then he shows up to the first practice of an anxiety attack, and we just couldn't deal with it after that.
That was wild.
He would yell at himself on the court.
Yeah. So and then the season after that, we felt like we had a decent squad, and we made it to the championship.
We made it to the championship.
But we lost to our rival coach, so we're just like
we fell short.
Right. And
granted, like the other coach had a bunch of high school kids.
Yeah.
We had a bunch of like 7th graders.
So going into this game, which was a little interesting too, I remember this, like we don't talk about this often enough. There was rumors that like half his team was going to miss that championship game because they had a high school football game that night.
Mm-hmm.
But shows up, everyone's there. But we planned for everyone to be there. But I think I think I got it into our kids' heads that
we practice expecting
new
kids to be on the team. So
and then on top of it, it wasn't until the season after that we realized we can manipulate the sub rules.
Yeah. Once we figured that out, it was over. It was done. We would make our lineups like days in advance. And literally it was on a piece of paper in little time blocks of who was going to play what quarter.
So everybody has to play. And sometimes we got kids that had Bible feet, were just terrible, couldn't do anything. So we would make it where some of these kids would sometimes like play extended minutes because we felt like we had to sit everybody every 5 minutes. And it got to the point where we felt like in the fourth quarter, we'd have to play some of these players. It turns out that's not the case. As long as they play, they'll play half the game, right?
Right.
So then we realized, okay, well, we could play some of these less decent players
at the beginning of the game.
And just the first half, just get them out of the way. And then we'll have one of our better players carry the team. And as long as the game's close, we're good. And once we figured that out, we started just blowing teams out by 30, 40
It was bad.
points.
Did you guys lose that season at all?
No,
we went
undefeated.
In our final season, we went undefeated, won the championship game by more than 30 points. And
we beat that team.
And we beat that team. And the funny thing is, me and Steven were super nervous for every game, thinking for whatever reason this is going to be the game someone catches us. So I don't know if it was just like that Mamba mentality me and Steven had, but we were just like, we were focused. Doesn't matter.
We beat a team by 62 points.
The closest a team came to us was we beat a team by 12 points. Mm-hmm. And that was our worst game of the year. We got on our team about it, and
I was about to say, best believe Steven ripped him after the game.
Because that was one of the last place teams, and for whatever reason, I think it's because our team was sleeping on them or something.
Yeah,
they came within 12 points, and we were like, hey,
they were just matched. Like they were matched up against us well, I think.
Right. They had like we had a very small team. Like we didn't have a legitimate center. We didn't have anything like that. So we just ran. We were just a fast-paced team.
We had a stretch too.
Yeah.
I don't know if Brian. I don't know if Brian can tell what was said in one of the last timeouts of a game once when you guys were down.
Oh
or
yeah,
something.
that's appropriate.
Yeah, like,
Well,
and
wasn't
then
it?
and you said something, and then they just like went on a chair,
Your speech.
I,
like
forget,
you ripped into the kids or
I
something.
forgot what the speech was, but you
Yeah.
could tell
I
it.
think Steven would probably remember a little more.
The one thing I remembered very clearly, and so like I said, these kids are 7th, 8th, 9th grade kids. So, I mean, they're not little, but obviously they're not like high school yet, real high school. But I mean, Brian and I, our mentality is to prepare the kids to play at a high school level and maybe even beyond. So
Mhm.
like we're trying to teach them things, but they were playing really horrible defense, and this was like the second unit too. It wasn't even like the strong unit. So Brian calls a timeout. He's furious. We're all together in the huddle, and he says, "Getting close," and he goes, "Get your head out of your asses and play some defense." Right, to these kids, and I'm like, oh shoot, like it's real right
Like
now.
he yelled this.
He said, and he's yelling this, and like I'm pretty sure parents and the other side, the other team, heard. He's like, these guys are not that good. They should not be scoring on you. They should have like 6 points. I think they had like 2 points.
We had the
They should have,
0-point
like, 6
challenge
points.
every game too.
Yeah, and he
We
just
would challenge our team to not give up any points in the first quarter and
yeah.
the other team have a goose egg.
And then I think was that the same?
We kept 2 teams in back-to-back games under 10 points total.
Mm-hmm.
And was that the same huddle where Brian was like, "I sat down like our best player because I thought you guys could play defense."
Yeah. yes.
Dude, I've never seen that side of Brian as a coach. That was wild because usually it's kind of good cop, bad cop with you two, and you two are like my favorite coaches to watch. But man, Brian was like, "I'll hold my beer, fam."
It's the ship, man. You can't.
Yeah.
So we won the championship. There's a reason why we weren't invited back. So, and then I went on, coached some high school basketball, but we started playing like the FIFA tournaments.
Yeah, and before we wrap up with like the FIFA tournaments and how we're at the podcast, you want to get into our last friends? Brian?
Okay. Ike sandwiches that will change your outlook on life because we're that good. 500 amazing options, vegetarian, meat, vegan, gluten-free. We got you. www.loveandsandwiches.com at Ike Sandwiches on Instagram. They have many locations: Arizona, San Diego, Southern California, and Northern California. Go grab yourself a sandwich. I'm sure you're close enough to one.
Ooh, that was the best like ad we ran so far. Like that was crazy.
So
I'm sold.
So we're doing FIFA tournaments with Lex and his brother. They got really heated. This is probably some of the good thing these were not recorded because
Man, yeah,
we would not be able to run for president.
Yeah, we make threats. We just say horrible things, call each other names. It's so bad.
But these tournaments, before we got to these tournaments, me and Lex lived together for a year in this apartment, and this is where me and Lex kind of bonded because like I've had plenty of roommates in the past and none of them worked out. Me and Lex were able to get through a year of living together without getting really pissed at each other. We had moments where maybe there's some controversial moments, like Lex would like to admit the poop on the floor.
Dude, that's like the craziest unsolved mystery. The mystery of the feces on the bathroom floor. So me and Brian had just gotten home from work, right? No one else has been at the apartment. And I think, I don't know who, just for argument's sake, I think Brian got there first maybe. And then 10 minutes later I got there and then I used the restroom. And then I was like, oh, I used the restroom. Okay. And I'm like, hey, Brian, did you leave feces on the floor? And he's like, he looked at me, he's like, no, did you? I'm like, no, because I was already out of the restroom. I was like, all right. And
I didn't even go to the bathroom.
Yeah, he didn't go to the bathroom that day yet. Yeah.
And this poop was fresh.
It was fresh, yeah, because the only other person to blame was like my girlfriend at the time, my ex-girlfriend. And she hadn't been there since like the day before or 2 days before. So obviously
you have a key?
No.
Okay.
It was just me and Brian had a key.
So the only other person who could get in there was our landlord, and unless like he had an emergency.
I never thought of that.
And he was like, you know what? I'm close. I don't think they're home. I could go drop a deuce in their bathroom real quick and just leave
Just
some
like sprint
evidence.
out as he's still doing it.
Leave some evidence on the floor. I don't know.
Oh
Because
man.
Should have got it tested.
most likely it was either mine or Lex's poop.
It had to have been, but
That's the most logical thing.
we both were clearly like, hey, like we didn't do this. You know, we kind of double checked.
I don't even think I don't even think I took a dump that morning. So it's like,
what's the size of the poop? Like
it was
like
very small.
Yeah,
like little Hershey.
It was very
Kiss,
small.
or
Yeah,
smaller than a Hershey Kiss.
Yeah,
Like
a little bit bigger than a Hershey Kiss.
oh man, that's a lot, dude.
Well, I mean, a
It
Hershey Kiss is like that, right?
It's a chunk. It was a chunk of poop.
A chunk, yeah, a little chunk.
And then another one is one time Lex came home and I was in my boxers on the couch and
Brown was sprawled on the couch, just like horizontal.
And my testicle was out of my.
Just one ball was out. One ball was like out, and I'm just like, hey Brian, there's no easy way to tell him. So I was like, hey, is that your ball? You're like, oh, it just like popped it back in.
There's a Strongbow story that I don't think is appropriate for the podcast.
Just know what happened.
What story?
Strongbow story. It's a beer or a cider or something.
Yeah.
And
there's like so many more we could probably tell on future podcasts.
And so if you guys want to know more, just ask us.
Yeah,
to share more.
Yeah, well, we'll tell them about the 3 a.m. hallway at the next podcast. But yeah, so basically
that's a fast one. I just woke up. I woke up. This is like the first night we're in the in the.
Oh, it was like first week, yeah. Like it was.
So I walk out of my room, and if you walk out of my room, you're in the living room, and there's a mini hallway that leads to Lex's room. I walk out, and
my room's right next to the bathroom,
and Lex is just standing in the middle.
No lights, 3 a.m. Like without a shirt, dude.
And I go, "Are you okay?" And you're like, "Yeah."
And then I walk back to my room.
Do you remember this?
I do. Well, it's weird. Like, yeah, I kind of do.
Like, do you remember being up, or was it?
I don't remember. Or? I don't remember like getting up, but I do remember like just before Brian opened the door that I was just chilling in the hallway. Maybe I was just thinking, right? And then Brian like was like, yeah. Brian, like, and I could tell Brian was like, you know, just like, because he always went to the restroom like overnight at least once, right? So I could tell he walked out of the room looking down. He looked up. He's like, he kind of like taken back like for a quick second. He's like, oh, hey, you good, bro? I'm just like, oh yeah. And I just walked back to my room. I was like, what just happened? Yeah, so, and it's like, we didn't mention it till like the next day. Like halfway through the day, we were all just like kind of quiet. We were like, hey, dude, why were you in the hallway? Like, I don't know, dude.
I don't even think it was sleepwalking. I think you just needed a minute outside the room to think or something.
Right? Yeah. I was just going through some stuff at the time. Like, man, my life's good, man. I got to think about it. So, but I mean, long story short, I guess since we just fast forward the origin story.
Yeah, me and Lex did the brand split. We've already discussed that slightly.
Yeah.
We decided that we would do our own podcast format, which is this. We decided to invite Steven on. Me and Steven did some fantasy football podcasts slightly like a year ago.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at now.
And now we're here.
We play Fortnite. Let's
end it on that.
Let's throw it up. We play Fortnite.
We play Fortnite.
I told him to stop hitting me. I like how Lex strategically placed 2 jerseys on his bed.
You like that? Shouts out to Shaquille O'Neal. Shouts out to the Rams.
Those are Star Wars flags?
Yeah, my Star Wars flags. Go Dodgers.
Yeah.